but it's something in space where it's like, just the dust is like, it's bad for your lungs or something.
It's the vacuum. It's the part where there's no oxygen.
Right, that's what it is.
It's not good for your lungs when you can't breathe.
You're quite right. But at any rate, I don't know, someone Google moon rocks for me and tell me the effect on the human lung. But
Spanic and water. That makes sure that does mean Cadellus is on the bench for this one. And it does mean Water gets to play Genji.
Woohoo! It does also mean, amazingly, we're seeing triple DPS here. Backwater's flexing onto a Sombra. This is completely different to anything we've seen so far.
Well, not entirely. If you watched, I suppose you'd have to be ambitious immortals from Contenders Trials China who did run triple DPS. Not exactly like this, but they did run something with 3 DPSs now for GE Pantheon because they are attacking, still just feeling up the space. Losing back all early though.
Yeah, he gets found out by Mango Giant. Water in a trap. He's going to go down there. BK's kill and Spanicus turn tail and run. GE Pantheon wanted that to go.
It's a little unfortunate. On one hand, you're kind of resetting in that space, but you're resetting, you're just dashing backwards anyway. He's actually like triple shurikening the trap and then walks into it, which was slightly embarrassing. But Hong Kong Attitude didn't give away too much in terms of ult charge there. Shylin and Perfect at a very reasonable 30-ish kind of percent here. GE Pantheon are actually slightly ahead, at least on water.
They're a little bit behind in some other regards, though. Hong Kong Attitude, that's the ultimate charge here. GE Pantheon haven't exactly charged up a lot, but you'd like to see a bit more on Shylin. Now he's starting to get a little bit done. Spanic takes some chunks just to back up a touch. But GE Pantheon this time getting onto the point. How will Hong Kong Attitude respond?
GE Pantheon really need to find the targets to dive onto. This is a very explosive composition. You have to have a hack, you have to have a full dive on, and Hyok's already low, and that's because there's only one healer.
And that's the power of the Storm Arrow as well. Now Medic's having to work double time because he's finally got Hyok up, but SYC is low.
There's not enough healing.
Water, it's going to be a nano boost available, but they're going to have to spend a lot of time just healing up before they can commit it.
And I don't know if you can even wait for the Dragon Blade here. He's not going to do it anyway. It's just going to be a dive in.
And they got enough off that dash to get the Dragon Blade, instantly commit.
Oh, here's Water.
Perfect. This is the Water we wanted to see. Mango Giant does shut him down with a stun and a couple of swings of the flail there. But GE Pantheon, the damage has been done. Spanic picks up BK, still doing the damage in here onto a Ting.
Dragon Strike.
Hong Kong Attitude decided to stick with this one. Dragon Strike should be raking across soon. Not quite getting anything here.
Well, Perfect's still... Oh, there it is. It's kind of low onto the ground, so just going to the core of the moon. But Shylin actually comes back as a Tracer. Had to jump off the Junker. He's about 86% on his way to the Riptire. This is where you can see the damage potential coming off the Dragon Blade. The timing was so good. Shylin back to base.
Yeah, nice play on the EMP there, going quite far forward while Hong Kong Attitude were regrouping. And they sort of catch them in the rotation. GE Pantheon, they backed off for a moment, but they're back in now, and they've really executed this nicely. Spanic getting back on the back line again. And this is where the triple DPS can really go off. Once it gets rolling, it just cleans up these kills so efficiently, so effectively, they will be able to cap out point A.
But there's just so much speed on the GE Pantheon side as well. What they lack is healing, but they don't need healing if they're constantly pushing forward, if they're constantly in the faces of Hong Kong Attitude, getting those trades first, getting those kills, putting Hong Kong Attitude onto the back foot. That's when Medic doesn't need to have a lot of pressure from the healing. He just needs to keep people topped off as Water cleans up everybody.
Once again, they are going to be able to come into a Nano Blade, but backward getting found out by Shylin is not great. Spanic has as well swapped over. Not doing a triple DPS, they're getting that extra support in here.
This is where it is going to be somewhat difficult to Nano Blade into. Its double stuns from Brigitte and McCree with the Super Cree. We know Perfect has landed some insane shots on McCree so far. It is going to be dangerous waters here, full water indeed.
At any rate, I'm excited to see the Super McCree cops come out again. It's going to be the commit in.
Oh, so quick.
Mango Giant does get back into base, but he's zoned out for the time being, and GE Pantheon capitalized. They're on the point now. How will Hong Kong Attitude answer back? BK hacked out of the point. Can't self-destruct to reset the mech. Mango Giant in trouble. Floats back to the point. Is going to be able to get their stun. Water too far forward. Overcommitted and didn't count on Shylin catching him out there. That is a decent EMP, but unfortunately it's a bit late in the day as Hong Kong Attitude have started to reinforce and are starting to now force GE Pantheon back. Inshot goes down. They've got the shots going on to Spanic. He is under a lot of pressure. Medic might get shot out here. Nice sleep onto Perfect, but the dive and follow-up is still there from a Ting to keep this fight grounded for Hong Kong Attitude as they hold.
And the Primal was forced at the end of the day as well. Now he can get some value out of this. Already picked up one kill. onto Medic, but otherwise that Primal is now gone, done and dusted. You can see how much resource was poured into taking down Water when he was the Genji. As soon as he went down, that's when Hong Kong actually started to win that fight, started to turn that franchise around. And now for GE Pantheon, Water going to be swapping back onto Azaria from the previous couple of maps, and this one is going to be the Winston Goats playing into the Super McCree.
Hong Kong Attitude have plenty of tools at their disposal now for this next defense. GE Pantheon gonna have to spend a bit of time to get the Smacker game back in their favor. Deadeye to come out. Everyone just kind of runs for the hills. Buys them a lot of time here.
A lot of space too.
They don't do much with either that time or that space. Now GE Pantheon come back in. Self-destruct nicely plays, zones out some members of Hong Kong Attitude. Inhyok didn't get much with that Primal Rage, and BK's self-destruct really hits its mark by comparison. Nice sleep onto Inhyok, who's not going to get out of that one alive. GE Pantheon just kind of bleed themselves dry. Hong Kong Attitude did do the same, but they're the ones on the defense. They don't mind.
This is where you're starting to see the value of CQB on the Ana as well. You don't normally see him play this. He's usually a Lucio player. For the last year and a half, you just barely seen him play anything except the Lucio. So now to see him on something like this is a breath of fresh air. Really showing the versatility in terms of the team. And for Hong Kong Attitude, it's really working out quite well for them. Less than 2 minutes remaining for GE Pantheon. Not a single tick to go.
Now, Rally is kind of all they have to work with. Backwall's nearly got a Transcendence. It's taking some real pain in the rotation, though. Thanks to shields, does preserve that armor, which is just a small boon. CQB throws off the nano boost because he knows it's about to go down, so Ting has really got to make use of this one. They've lost Perfect in the mix as well.
Yet.
Does have a Primal Rage, commits that in. BK gets sick of it. Now, Backwall with that Transcendence. They've finally been able to bank that one up. Water will be able to come out with a grab here as well, so Hong Kong Attitude kind of running against the clock. They've got those respawns, but they've lost a third on the point. Haven't really got these kills. Shailin gets picked off again. Water so close now to a grab.
Now there should be a Transcendence once that grab comes out as well in GE Pantheon. They're getting so many players here. Grab dumps come through and so does
that is a huge whiff on the grab though. And Mango Jai, he does commit the Transcendence anyway, so maybe that's actually okay because now the Transcendence has not been able to save BK or Perfect. A team comes back in on the Wrecking Ball, but they're still losing members. Shailin will not get kills on the Doomfist either. This is not looking good for Hong Kong Attitude. A Ting just rolling around to stall for a few extra seconds as the cap will get completed with just over 30 seconds to spare.
I'm going to be quite honest here, I'm very surprised that Perfect swapped over to the Hanzo after he was playing McCree so well. Went back into Spawn, went onto the Hanzo afterwards, immediately died when the next push from GE Pantheon came through. Really, you should be valuing the flashbang here when you do get dived. That's how you protect yourself. Then you have the flash and the roll, or rather the fan and the roll. That's the secondary option there after the flash. And for Hong Kong Attitude, foregoing that to go back onto the Hanzo, having no impact, then starting to lose a lot of members. They had a Transcendence. Yes, the Graviton Surge didn't actually hit anybody, but because Hong Kong Attitude only have 4 members anyway, there was a desperation there from Mango Joe to say, I have to keep alive everyone that's currently here, get some respawners out into the mix. Hong Kong Attitude have that going for them and couldn't pick up any trades.
It's just a little unfortunate. They'd actually done pretty well up till that point, winning those more even fights. So credit to GE Pantheon for making that work, just out-executing when it came down to it. Now on their own defense, we'll have to see how well GE Pantheon hold out. If they fully hold here, then they do actually begin a reverse sweep potentially.
And it's not going to be the triple DPS anymore. They're not going to go for what I would consider to be quite a risky playstyle, risky composition, specifically for defense, where it's a lot harder for them to dictate fights in the most regard. So playing something with a little bit more healing, but still with an insane amount of damage output. Hong Kong Attitude going to be playing their own dive here. Sombra's on both sides, a Genji and a Doomfist.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Pretty simple compositions out of both. I'm liking the old Sombra Genji. Smanic's got a funky angle here, might be able to find a pick. Certainly will be looking for one of the squishier members.
If he doesn't, he gets hacked out, he'll die. So he's got to get out pretty quickly.
He just has to pull back to his team. He realizes he's not going to be able to get a catch there. Not going to take anyone by surprise.
I think the Discord all from Backwall here is going to be a deciding factor. That's something Hong Kong Attitude don't have with the Zenyatta. So putting a lot of eggs into the basket of the Nano Boost and the Sound Barrier with the Speed Boost has to be the win condition for Hong Kong Attitude as it's just jostling for positioning, trying to get onto the point.
Spanik and Water are leading seriously in the ult charge, but in terms of the kills, Inhyuk goes down. Mango Jai gets traded out though. That really hurts the healing. Technically, the closer respawn is there for Hong Kong Attitude, but you see the effect that Shaolin has to take a long walk to get topped off, and in that time, a Ting takes some real pain. They haven't quite found themselves another pick since then, but punch off from Spanik means Hong Kong Attitude is set back.
The first two ultimates of the game coming up online for Pantheon right now with Spanik on the Meteor Strike and also Nano Boost available for Medic. And this is where the double healers is so good. Spanik getting topped off here. EMP coming up online soon for Water. In position is Pantheon to complete this defense.
That's a really great find by Water to finish off BK's mech. Really hurts Hong Kong Attitude's clock here.
So hard to reset as well.
And it's the thing, you don't want to just go back to spawn. You also know that if you stay in the fight, you're likely to die. They decide to take option B, and that gives GE Pantheon essentially a free fight when they do commit a Meteor Strike that maybe wasn't necessary, and a Nano Boost as well. So actually, Hong Kong Attitude got quite a lot out of that.
Well, it's going to give them some room to play with nonetheless, because it is now going to be a Nano Blade with an EMP, and the way you're going to combo this is shut down back wall with the EMP first, then play the Nano Boost. Make sure there is nothing to counter out that blade. Oh, Spanik, though, in the wrong place.
VK closes that one out. That is, again, Spanik trying to get too clever. It's been sniffed out. EMP committed very aggressively from Water, and they charge in with the Transcendence, finding the kills. No Nano Blade available. Hong Kong Attitude need to decide, do we pull back? Do we maybe try and stick in this one?
The issue here for Pantheon, though, is EMP and Transcendence is so costly considering that it didn't actually make trades happen there. Spanik's going to get back into the mix, but they don't have the defense against the Dragon Blade now. The Nano Blade, when it comes through, is just going to absolutely carve through GE Pantheon unless a hack comes through from Water or a sleep dart from Medic.
Perfect comes around for the angle, finds the two supports. Backwall's already dead before Shaolin gets there.
Okay.
Goes down to a self-destruct, and Spanik actually trades one back onto Mango Jai. So this is not going to be the whitewash fight that Hong Kong Attitude wanted. Now Perfect had to recall. CQB goes down. Spanik closes out the kill on Perfect. Hong Kong Attitude, the combo that they've been banking on for so long now, does not pay off.
Misexecution with a capital M there for Hong Kong Attitude, just completely with the positioning there. Shaolin had the perfect blade outside of getting blown up by that self-destruct. Just needed to make sure he knew where the explosion was going to take place. Sidestep that. Even if he doesn't get any more kills, him living, then pressuring the backline again with the rest of the Nano Boost and the rest of Hong Kong Attitude was how they could have won.
Going Winston Goats now, changing their tune. They're going to be able to contend with that EMP.
30 seconds. Back
off, get some health. Spanik will have a Meteor Strike. Get on the point, they get a third. They're at least somewhere, but Water.
Should be EMP.
That's going to be, oh no! Late commit. He does at least get it before dying, and Spanik immediately shuts down Shaolin. They find CQB as well. And now GE Pantheon cleaning up VK. Did get a self-destruct off, actually, just barely, and he will remech, but Perfect's already dead. So still only these two tanks. A Ting has a Primal Rage. They're just waiting for a brief moment before they recommit to the point. Going in now, only a couple of seconds, and a Ting can stall for a fair while, but it is just that it is stalling. Goes back in now with the Primal Rage properly running, as the rest of the team you see in the distance still trying to get back to the fight, as a Ting is finally down as they arrive. Spanik gets two with the Meteor Strike, and that's going to be all she wrote for the defense. SYC even getting one with the self-destruct just for style points, get the revenge on Perfect. GE Pantheon KR complete the full holds on A and are going to take Horizon Lunar Colony.
And it all falls apart so quickly there for Hong Kong Attitude. They set the pins up and they just needed to get the strike, and it goes straight into the gutter, my friend. Nothing coming out of that blade noteworthy enough before the self-destruct really blew Shaolin up. And from there, it just went from bad to worse. But for GE Pantheon, it only gets better from here. And you mentioned a little bit earlier on when we talked about the fact there's 4 DPS players on GE Pantheon, a lot of competition for spots in terms of how they want to use these players. I think all 3 have shown some very good qualities, especially now on Horizon Lunar Colony. Spanik coming through. Wow, what a play.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. And when you consider, we're comparing him directly there to Shaolin's Doomfist. Shaolin's Doomfist, what little we saw of it there on Horizon Lunar Colony, didn't really have much an effect, to be completely honest. In fact, a lot of Shaolin's plays didn't land the same way that either Water or Spanik did. Now, as we move forward as well, another thing I mentioned earlier was when we're on that payload, when we're on that more momentum-oriented gameplay, that's where I think we see the DPSs of GE Pantheon have a lot more room to play with. That's where they should be unlocking the likes of Water, and if they choose to field him again, it will be Spanik, maybe Kadalis instead, who's to say. But I said that they had to still win Assault if they wanted to have a chance when we got to Escort to tie this one up. Well, they've given themselves that chance now, and I do think Escort could be a very strong map mode for them.
What I want to say about this entire week, this opening week of Contenders in Season 3 is there's not going to be a single winless team in terms of maps for the entire season.
Oh, 4-0s.
The entirety of the season, you're not going to see a single team not go home with a single map win. And the other thing to consider is now, basically every single match we've had, I think, across all 6, after the break, there's been some turnaround. Somebody's managed to make a comeback here, and it's always been something that sort of just changes there. Going onto that map 3, Giant, what we just saw in previous match, did kind of the exact same thing. Now going into this match, GE Pantheon have looking like they've unlocked just another level.
And that's the truth of it here, right? They have actually reassessed during that break. They are looking that little bit better. I dare say part of it is actually Spanik. He was really going off in a way that Kadalis wasn't, but I would dare say the other side of that is what Kadalis has brought to the table for them on these first 2 maps is a flexibility that perhaps Spanik doesn't have. I don't want to say that too empirically because we don't know for certain, but that could be the decision that gets made when they're deciding what DPS do we field here. Right. Okay, we're not going to need the flex onto the Zarya. We can afford to put in Spanik, and later on down the line, maybe that'll be Carefree. Okay, no, we do need the flex here. That's where we're going to need Kadalis, and he has really been holding his own in that situation. So again, as we move on to Escort, where you may want that flex, we may see them go back to Kadalis, but I would like to see them spend more time with Spanik here just because of the playmaking potential he's just demonstrated.
We got to see if Spanik can jump onto some of the other picks there, like when we get back to Goats. You know, is this guy going to be a one-trick Doomfist for the team, or does he have a little bit more under, in his sleeves right here or in his pockets to really show in terms of versatility for his hero pool? Because I think between the 4 DPSs that GE Pantheon have, we get Kefri in next week as well, I think they can cover basically all the grounds that they need to across this current meta and into future metas when the patch will change for playoffs. So that's something to look forward to a little bit down the line, but you do have to get there to really unlock yourselves and to be able to play in those kind of patches and those kind of scenarios. And I did want to see, from the Hong Kong attitude side of things, a little bit more resistance against the triple DPS. I felt like it was a little bit too well played, or just not resisted enough, not punished hard enough from the side of Hong Kong attitude. Like GE Pantheon were able to use a triple DPS, 1 healer, and then usually you see that kind of composition fall apart. Just takes too much damage.
That's the thing. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And Hong Kong attitude have played against that composition before. It shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but series definitely not over yet. And GE Pantheon Korea do have the opportunity to equalize, tie us up 2-2, take us to that tiebreaker on Nepal. We'll be on Route 66. Or it could just be where Hong Kong attitude, much like what happened in the last series just been, they still actually close out 3-1 despite the loss on Assault.
Yeah, exactly. New Paradigm definitely, they stepped it up a notch. When it felt like Giant Esports were really punching back, New Paradigm said, you're staying down here, we're going to finish this game. So if Hong Kong attitude right now should be coming back with a little bit more fire. They don't really have any substitutions to make. They just have their core 6-member roster, which I think it's a very strong 6-member roster. Like, it'd be hard to substitute anyone out of that. I think they've covered all the bases they need to already. So going into map number 4 here, how now
Brown
perfect.
Sorry, I had to take the opportunity.
But
do finish.
It's Goats, but not Cows, but
Right.
But how perfect, sort of comes back through, because I felt like he had a bit of a quiet game on Horizon as well, outside of some plays with the McCree on that defense and then swapping up the Hanzo and dying. So beyond that, I mean, him and Shailin kind of had a much more quiet game.
Yeah, unfortunate to say the least, but they've had pretty noisy games, shall we say, on a lot of their other ones. So it's not too bad, all things considered. And again, Route 66, a great map for unlocking DPSs if you choose to play it that way. And I would expect to see Hong Kong attitude to try and lean into that. When you've got Perfect, when you've got Shailin, you want to try and enable their playmaking potential as DPS players.
Now that Cadalis's short break is over, Hispanic's short stint on the DPS is over. He's back into action. Water, just kind of highlighting that Genji so far. Hawkman actually going to be playing the dive first off with the Sombra and a Genji versus a Widowmaker and a Genji.
Like I said, Hong Kong Attitude want to lean into those DPSs, and seeming like GE Pantheon want to do the same. Ooh, hold up. Strat.
Is it real?
It's going to get scouted though. Perfect knows it's coming. He will have called that out. They've actually chosen to not use it. They don't need it to bypass any kind of setup here.
So this is quite old school. This takes us all the way back to perhaps even Season 1 this year, where it's Medic on the Mercy with Cadalis on the Widowmaker here. So the damage boosted headshots or just body shots is really what they want to do.
Perfect, looking for an angle in to harass, tries to find Water, but has to just back up. Can't afford to take that 1v1. Hong Kong Attitude backing up a little bit as GE Pantheon getting some free push for the time being.
This push is going to give them a decent amount of distance for now. Cadalis controlling the space with the line of sight here, forcing Hong Kong Attitude to react and take some control themselves onto this cart now.
Still just trying to find the opportunity to get in and get aggressive. Perfect quite a ways away from the EMP, which is really the tool they want, but good damage on SYC forces him back, and Hong Kong Attitude takes some ground.
Right now we're waiting to see what kind of damage Cadalis can really do, because he's receiving a decent amount of resources, at least from Medicare. For GE Pantheon, stalled up now. A lot of damage onto Inhyuk. He goes down early.
Yeah, too much damage, where SYC was able to retreat. Inhyuk not quite so lucky, but Backwall snipes out Shailin, so there's an opportunity here because the res comes in from Inhyuk and GE Pantheon have a numbers advantage.
6v5 is going to be very important here. Can Perfect maybe get this EMP? That could be the major advantage for them going into this defense. Cadalis is nowhere to be seen there. Just primary sopping onto the Sombra now. Water's kneeling onto the Dragon Blade. Is that going to be the swing factor?
Yeah, because Shailin died, he has not been able to match Water still with this Dragon Blade. That's going to be the commit. CQB down. Water looks to get aggressive. Will find Mango Jai. Meanwhile, on the front side of the fight, SYC closes out on his counterpart. Medic really doing a lot of work in here, just keeping everyone plenty healthy while they scrap it out in the car.
You can see Mango Jai just respawning on 96% there, now 97% on the Transcendence. Shailin dies just as he returns back to the point with his own Dragon Blade. Had that played out a little bit differently, by the way, Perfect didn't get kind of spotted out, but had it played out differently, Mango Jai Transcendences, Shailin goes in with the Blade, maybe they stop this card.
Late contest. Perfect did get detected again, but he's just going to slip through the opening doors. By the time he gets back to his team, though, GE Pantheon, because they knew Perfect was separated, they took a 6 versus 5, committed just the Primal Rage to it to get this fight win. They do lose Inhyuk, but you don't really mind that when you get all this free space and you can res him anyway.
Well, that's the thing. The one punish you did get goes unpunished very, very quickly. Hong Kong Attitude now sitting on 5 ults. CQB does swap onto the Lucio now. They want to really go into this dive. There's EMP ready on both sides.
And it's going to be Cadalis who pulls the trigger first, but it's Inhyuk the first casualty as Hong Kong Attitude have just reacted so well. Water now low gets finished off by a team. Good follow-up. Shailin now wants to preserve this Dragon Blade. They've already won the fight well enough without it. Cadalis to translocate away, looking to follow up on that, try and finish off the kill. He is going to get away with his life, but the fight win goes the way of Hong Kong Attitude.
What you see there is both EMPs were used, but only one Transcendence was used. That was from Mango Jai. Backwall held on to his one, or was not in position to use his own. Either way, Hong Kong Attitude, they come out ahead because of the fact EMP blown by both sides, but only one team was able to out-heal the damage.
Now Hong Kong Attitude holding on to a couple of ultimates, but you got to say those defensive tools from GE Pantheon are the scarier thing right now. Water will not be going into a Transcendence on the opposite side, and he commits quick by 2 with a single swing. This is Water. Oh, excellent play. And like I said, no Transcendence to potentially counter it out. GE Pantheon take a very quick fight win.
Absolutely clean plays from him, just flows right through you. And for Hong Kong Attitude right now, a team can't even get out alive. Perfect, meeting the same fate. You can't stop this man until CQB
well, unless the CQB, yeah.
But he's already got so many kills.
He got 4 kills throughout that entire passage of play on the one guy. 2 from the Blade, 2 just from getting aggressive, catching people in corners.
It's like that old idiom, it's like the mountain and the river, and it's the river that erodes the rocks. And for GE Pantheon right now, I'm a little bit sad because Water is now back on for Brigitte instead. With that, Ating's going to get aggressive. Medic goes down, and Hong Kong Attitude are going to wrestle control back in their favor.
And this is because GE Pantheon committed those support tools in the last fight. Now there's an opening for Shaolin. He pounces, finds back wall. Medic had previously died. They find water as well. SYC over the edge. He's not going to commit a self-destruct. Smart to do so. And now GE Pantheon, they're going to be banking on an EMP, but Perfect does have one of his own.
Not only that, but Mango Jai actually has the Transcendence here, so if Kadalis does manage to initiate, as long as Mango Jai stays safe, they're going to be able to counter out. Can't say the same for GE Pantheon. Backall doesn't quite have it just yet.
They know that he's there, but they just don't where. That's a huge connection. So many members, and the coordination so slick from Hong Kong Attitude. They instantly collapse on all those Hacks members and get a nice quick win. GE Pantheon, though, now the seesaw swings the other way. It's their turn to EMP.
It is, but there's still a Transcendence available, and now backed up by a sound barrier soon to be from CQB. And that's going to be very important because one of those supports, as long as one maintains their ability to use an ultimate, you can counter out the EMP.
There it is. They dive straight onto Mango Jai, so no Transcendence available. Backwall commits his. They are off to a good start right now. Hong Kong Attitude losing BK in full. CQB as well. Not going to be able to commit a sound barrier. They know that they've lost this one. Hong Kong Attitude want to preserve those few ultimates they have.
And that's very interesting because now they're going to give away a lot of positioning here because they didn't choose the sound barrier or couldn't sound barrier. This card is about to reach the finish line onto B and Hong Kong Attitude are not actually in a good position to contest.
VK does at least get out, but the self-destruct is going to force them to back up for a second as VK loses his mech to it. Committing a Transcendence in now. They've lost CQB, but they trade it back. They find Kadalis. They go aggressive with the blade. Shaolin doesn't find much, but he at least does the damage to secure the closeouts. And now suddenly it's GE Pantheon who aren't in a great position. They're going to have to dive for the cart. Back wall does finally go down to the dive from Perfect to follow up on what Shaolin laid down. Finds SYC on the comeback, and PK getting the old mech recall kill, and then two with the self-destruct just for style points. Nice hold from Hong Kong Attitude, and they are now poised to take this one out.
I'm in the sort of position now where I still have the question of Water changing onto Brigade into the Genji. You see how effective he was earlier on with that Genji. You see how effective Shaolin still was with that Genji as they carried on through. That seemed to be the missing puzzle piece for GE Pantheon there as they reach the end of Camp B. And as Hong Kong Attitude still respawning, trying to pile through that entryway, GE Pantheon didn't even really stop them from coming in. They could have decided to really check the entrances, really put some bubbles down, really try and block those entrances and stop Hong Kong Attitude from rushing onto the cart. That's why I said it's not the perfect scenario. It's not the best place for Hong Kong Attitude to be in to try and recontest the cart, but it needs to have a situation where GE Pantheon actually contest the entrances properly.
Very tough break for GE Pantheon. That's the thing, when things were looking good, they were looking so good. They looked nearly unstoppable, but then, well...
Off the back of Water.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude found a way to stop them. Built a dam.
And I feel like when they built that dam, Water laid down the bricks. Kind of helped them in that regard. It's just still quite strange. I mean, maybe he wanted to counter out both Shaolin and Perfect and say, look, if you want to dive onto me with either Sombra or Genji, I will shield bash you out.
Which makes some sense, but...
just didn't work out that way.
And also, when you're taking him off the playmaking Genji there, you're removing that pick in order to have that counter. I mean, you almost wish it could be someone other than Water making that swap.
I just want to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But for GE Pantheon now on this defense, Hong Kong Attitude on the offense. It's been Perfect setting things out. Maybe with a scouting Hanzo. Yeah, it is a scouting Hanzo as they go for the ground. Ryan Goats.
Kadalis able to scout that one out. He's actually a little bit separated from his team. May have to translocate out if things get hairy. Just trying to set up a kill box here on top of Hong Kong Attitude's Goats.
Kadalis has already taken a decent amount of damage. Has to translocate backwards. Gives Hong Kong Attitude some good space to work with at the moment. And even Indycock just has to reposition so quickly. Half HP.
It feels like they're actually just juggling who's going to take the damage. They're sending someone in, stopping the cart a bit. Someone takes damage, they back off, and the cart moves. But finishing off a Ting kind of changes the pace of this as Water's able to find Shaolin as well. And GE Pantheon, this is the beginning of a defense.
Full backup mode for Hong Kong Attitude. Ting's actually going to swap onto the Winston now. It has to contest Indycock. Knows that as the Rhino onto the ground, doesn't have any vertical pressure. And GE Pantheon like to play this high ground right now, and you need to pressure them up there.
troublesome thing is by the swap, Water is already going to have himself a blade and the nano boost to boot. They get aggressive. Nice stun though. They need to finish him off. Otherwise, it's not going to count for much. And they haven't quite killed him. He hasn't got any kills of his own, but that doesn't matter. The rest of his team got plenty of work done. And that was a nice defense for GE Pantheon, given that Water was stunned with that combo on him.
I think Shaolin really stopped the pressure there with that shield bash onto Water initially. And then Water had kind of a little bit of a slowdown. It gave Commentators the ability to walk away a little bit, reposition out of the blade's range. Water trying to get in, did some damage to help his team out. The EMP still available. That's the biggest weapon now.
That's the EMP straight on top of so many members, and they find Perfect as Kadalis did it to translocate out.
Okay.
Medic does get necked by Mango Jai, but honestly, that's not too bad a trade-off here if you're GE Pantheon. You're happy to take the kills you've got, and Hong Kong Attitude are really kind of hitting a wall here.
Well, this is a super demanding start now because GE Pantheon get to continually rotate these ultimates. Look at Water. We used the Dragon Blade not too long ago, already up to 80% and climbing. Transcendence available as well. Hong Kong Attitude finally have some good ults of their own, but look at the card position. We're still in the beginning of the game.
And it's quite hard to connect these ultimates here, you know, things like the grab, because GE Pantheon, they're never going to be all that grouped up. They are playing a more mobile team composition. It's hard for Hong Kong Attitude to get mileage from these ultimates. They still kind of need to get frags to open these fights out.
They certainly do, and GE Pantheon now looking at positioning. That's Indyhawk down, but Water is available with the blade.
Looking for Mango Jai. He does have a Transcendence. He can just pop the moment things get hairy, but Medic is down, and Backwall's Transcendence has already run out. He's going to die as G-Sick lost his mech, also going to lose his life. Kadalis gets picked off, and finally Hong Kong Attitude makes some headway without using a single ultimate, actually, aside from the rally, which is nearly back up. That was all just kills.
And that's just getting Indyhawk down first, forcing a bad position out of GE Pantheon. What are you supposed to do now? Do you play 5 versus 6? You know there's a Graviton Thursday. You know there's defensive options. You're still going to try and play this now that you have your plays back in.
Looking to commit, but the cart's still moving, and everyone's stuck up in the grab as the self-destruct catches them. Now GE Pantheon, they're just kind of throwing bodies at the point now. Hong Kong Attitude using 3 ultimates to secure that, but they don't mind because all the rest were up on cooldown.
But like GE Pantheon need to wait for the EMP here. Without the EMP, it's going to be quite difficult, especially because Hong Kong Attitude just had so many more ultimates. Finally, the EMP available. This is now where GE Pantheon can really mount the defense. Heal Water back up, use a Nano Blade, combo with EMP. That's how they hold.
And it's such a deadly combo. By the time that's all said and done, Hong Kong Attitude will be very lean for time and still really waiting for things like the grab to come off cooldown. Kadalis looking for the angle.
He's already got eyes onto the card. This is where they want to go in.
Just the blade straight up. They find Shaolin's. They're happy with that, but it does get traded back. So Hong Kong Attitude, they can't stand this fight. Water's down. What happened there? No EMP, and they end up paying for it dearly. A team finds 2 with the Primal Rage, and they clean up the last 3 of the fight. At least the EMP is available now for this next fight, but man, that could have been such a whitewash.
It's too late. I feel like the EMP now is not going to be nearly as effective. You EMP with the Nano Blade, you get a team wipe so much more effectively. Without the EMP, the mass hacks, Hong Kong Attitude still have resources. They have abilities to defend against the Nano Blade, and that's exactly what happened. The EMP now has to hit. It has to be massive, and not only that, the damage has to be good from GE Pantheon.
It's like they thought it was just a gimme, but it indeed was not. Sound barrier to counter out the hack, but they do still lose Perfect. So that is a good start for GE Pantheon. Kadalis, though, has to translocate back out of the fight. Inhyok taking some damage as well. Might not get out of this one alive. 24 hit points. Able to make it back. No, still taking some hurt. Really on a knife's edge. SYC now taking the brunt of the pain. As Hong Kong Attitude have decided to stay in this one. They finish off Inhyok, and they can afford to do this. The payload's nearly at the end.
Still a grab.
SYC's down. Backwall gets necked. SYC finally finished off Kadalis as well. And there's the grab just to make sure they get the last few kills. Hong Kong Attitude roll it on through. And with that, they will secure the 3-1 victory in their first series of Season 3.
Slow and steady rather wins the race for Hong Kong Attitude there, just ever so slowly inching the cart forward. We were at A on that initial offense. Bit of a spawn camp happening from GE Pantheon. Carroll, we're thinking, could this be a full hold onto A? They finally find some picks, push on through cap A, and then going on to B. What a strange turn of events where GE Pantheon just had the right pieces but did not play them in the correct order, or did not play them on the board the way you'd expected them to.
And the thing is, I mean, maybe the thinking was, okay, the Nano Blade will be enough here and we can preserve the EMP for later, but the reality is, the Nano Blade's not a guarantee. Now look, with the EMP, sure, it's still not a guarantee, but it's so much more likely to result in a fight win because it disables everything that could stop your Genji. So I feel like not committing all in there was a big mistake in and of itself. And then after it didn't work, they did the same thing that seems to have cost them so many times. They took water off Genji, they put him over onto the Brigitte. And again, we see the logic there. You want the Brigitte to shut certain things down, but what you're doing is you're taking away your own potential to win. It feels like you're playing to not lose anymore, and then they still lost
honestly,
anyway.
Water was a far bigger threat than Shailen in this game, and you can see it by the amount of impact. And the other thing is, I don't think you're that scared of Perfect on Sombra when you have your own Sombra anyway, when you did have your own Sombra. And this is why I got to go back to this particular map specifically feeling like a very winnable map for GE Pantheon Korea. And the statement I made earlier where it kind of feels like you're right, Hong Kong Attitude, we're building a dam for water, but it was water and the rest of GE Pantheon laying the bricks.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there, unfortunately. And look, it is very easy for us to sit here and look at this and say, if they'd done it like this, it would have been different. Look, this is clearly something that has been working for GE Pantheon before. There is a reason they are moving water off the Genji onto the Brigitte in these situations. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it every single time. It does just seem that where it may have worked in the past, it's not going to work against a team like Hong Kong Attitude. And that's something GE Pantheon are going to have to go away and reassess as they play out the rest of the season against other similarly threatening teams. They can't keep doing that. They do need to find another way to achieve what they're trying to achieve when they make that swap.
But all in all, despite that loss into Route 66, they did get a well-deserved win on Horizon Olympic Colony. A decent contest on Ilios as well. Hollywood, not so much going their way. What I can say is, in what seems to be one of the more on paper one-sided games, which did end in a 3-1 for Hong Kong Attitude, it was a great showing from GE Pantheon. But other than that, I think we've basically closed everything out. I do think we want to just look over how the games all landed tonight, though. So let's go back to match number 1.